So, let's get the record straight here. I am a huge fan and supporter of sci-fi-japan.com. I've been going there for probably almost 20 years, since 98, 99. So, I mean, it's getting up there. And ever since, the late 90s and stuff, this place has been like the premier source for Godzilla and Kaiju related news. However, since the original owner's passing, it turned into more of kind of just a general sci-fi fantasy place. But seriously, they always offer these really top tier articles. We covered some in the past about Godzilla movies that have never been made, and it's not just a little thing that's like a paragraph of it. Man, they got 6-part in-depth articles about this stuff, and it's fantastic. They did a show called Sci-Fi Japan TV, which was, I think, they might not be producing new episodes. I haven't seen anything in a while, but at the time, in my opinion, it was the best thing that was going on in the tokusatsu fandom, video community. And over the years, they've really just made this reputation for themselves as being just a premier place, and I love visiting it. Which is why I was really befuddled and confused and slightly disappointed when they posted this article at the beginning of November called non-Godzilla Kaiju films that fans should see, or something of that nature. And typically, if Sci-Fi Japan's going to post something like that, this list is probably going to be, one might expect it to have a bunch of obscure genre films that you might have never heard of, or maybe that one that you heard of way back in the day, but your memory suddenly is rekindled with that because of the fact that this article reminded you. So with that said, you click on the article, and then a list of 3 movies pop up. 3 movies. Those movies being Gamera the Invincible, Pacific Rim, and The Host. It was really a lazy article, because again, these are movies that any, die-hard kaiju fan has heard of, or again, adores. Pacific Rim, I mean, come on. So, with all that bitching aside, it did kind of bring something to light that I actually want to throw out at you guys. What are some non-Godzilla kaiju movies that you recommend other people to check out? Because, the kaiju genre is kind of limited. There's not this plethora of stuff out there. And chances are a lot of the things that even I'm going to mention in just a couple minutes, you've heard of before. However, there's a good chance that maybe somebody out there really hasn't heard of, something like Pulgasari, the North Korean kaiju movie, which I have personally never seen, but and I've heard it's terrible, but the history behind that movie alone is so freaking interesting. And if you don't know anything about it, I would actually go recommend look up the Wikipedia stuff. So what I want you guys to do in the comment section below is to write out 3 kaiju movies, non-Godzilla kaiju movies that you recommend other people to check out. It could be something, it could be a hidden gem that nobody has ever seen, or it could be something so weird and really not that good, something like Pulgasari, that you gotta watch just for the sake of the fact that such a bizarre, obscure thing exists like that. So I'm gonna start us off by giving us 3 movies. This is off the top of my head, off the cuff kind of thing. And first one being Dark Soldier D, made in 1998 by Build Up Entertainment, which I believe is now known as Build Up Co. And Dark Soldier D was, I believe, like a mini-series. It's 3 episodes long, half-hour episodes, essentially an hour-and-a-half long movie when you watch them all together, about a soldier of fortune who has a power suit, and he starts fighting meteor monsters, which are basically monsters that have been created because of this green gooey stuff that comes out of the center of these really bad-looking meteors. The CGI is probably, a shade below a sci-fi original movie production, which I'm fine with personally, because that movie entertains the crap out of me. I reviewed it back when I was doing the Apollo Z hack shtick, and it's something I do recommend people to check out, because it's really something that not a whole lot of people get to see. They don't know about it. And any movie that has, a drunk soldier in a mech suit fighting a giant crapping chicken monster, I mean, that's something you should probably check out. The next one is probably going to be a little bit more on the popular side. I think every die-hard kaiju fan has probably heard of it, but it's actually one I just rediscovered, and I just so happen to have it right here. and that is Space Amoeba. Ooh, look at that. Trying not to get the glare in the camera. Space Amoeba was made in 1970. It was directed by Ishiro Honda, and has a fantastic music score by Akira Ifukube. It feels very much like a mid-60s monster movie in the vein of like Frankenstein Conquers the World or War of the Gargantuas. Because these monsters are smaller than your average, Tokyo stomping kaiju. And they're not really eating people, but they're flinging people around with their tentacles, and they're more of a direct threat to the humans themselves. And I think one of the things I really enjoy about this movie is the fact that they're stuck in an island in like the South Seas. No military hardware, really, so to speak of. No tanks, no copters, no missile launchers. They have some like leftover hardware from World War II, like a machine gun, and I think some dynamite and some gasoline canisters and the like. I grew up watching it, an old VHS copy when it was known as Yog the Space Monster, or Yog Monster from Space. And recently, like I said, got the DVD again. Just fell in love with it again. It's a lot of fun. That one is a little bit more obscure to find. The prices are kind of up there. I think I paid $35 shipped for mine, which is actually a lot more for a DVD than I would care to to pay for. But that's actually a good price, I think, just by what I've seen. But totally worth it. No regrets whatsoever. So Space Amoeba, check that one out if you have not. The last one I'm going to recommend, I think I am literally grasping at straws here, but I decided to go super obscure, and because of the fact that there's a giant monster fight in it, it's not the center of the movie, but it's the climax of the movie. I'm just going to go with it because I know a lot of kaiju fans out there probably have no exposure to this particular genre whatsoever, and that's going to be the movie Kamen Rider J. If you can invest time in watching an hour-and-a-half movie, you can invest time in watching a 45-minute short, okay? Kamen Rider J was of a series of 3 movies that Kaita Amamiya directed. Now, Kaita Amamiya more recently has been attached to, like, Garo and all the incarnations of that. And he did Mechanical Violator Kiter, Kamen Rider Zeto, and then Kamen Rider J, which I also just so happened to review as Apollo Z Hack back in the day, and I'll link to the review down below. Now, it's a great starting point, in my opinion, to get into Kamen Rider. I prefer Zeto, but the thing with J is that, 1, it's more lighthearted, and 2, Zeto don't grow to kaiju proportions in the climax. And that's where the recommendation comes from. Because at the very end of the movie, Kamen Rider J goes jumbo-sized and fights this like mechanical tank thing called the Fog Mother. And, it's entertaining. I can't possibly say it's the best thing ever, but to this day, it is literally the only Kamen Rider that has ever grown to that size, outside of like Kamen Rider Decade, when he used basically J's power to transform into a giant Kamen Rider Decade. And the other thing about that movie, I think that might please some kaiju fans, is that there's this monster, I believe, called Agito. It's like the first fight that Jay has in the movie. And Agito is this lizard monster that looks like an evil Anguirus, right down to the crawling on the, hands and knees kind of thing. And I love it. I mean, I think a lot of people will be like, oh, that looks cheesy, but I love it because it totally rings nostalgia for, the days of the 60s Anguirus, which I know many a kaiju fan hold near and dear to their hearts. But again, that's a little, that's kind of, it's kind of grasping at straws, but that's also one that I think that, people should check out because, 1, they probably have never seen Kamen Rider, and 2, it gives them an incentive to watch Kamen Rider because of the fact that Kamen Rider goes kaiju-sized. So there you have it, 3 kaiju movies, non-Godzilla kaiju movies that you guys should check out. Now, I want to know, what are yours? So once again, please just go down below. List them out. Let's talk. Let's discuss. And once again, thanks again for watching. I look forward to seeing what you have to say. And with that said, for Godzilla's sake, keep watching more tokusatsu for the good of mankind and yourselves. And please, oh please, as per usual, collect responsibly. We will catch you later.